So ladies and gents, welcome. So today what I wanted to do, particularly leading up to the exam, I wanted to talk about how to thwart our biggest problem with section C, which is language analysis, or analysing argument as it's now called, which is time management. That seems to be the gigantic elephant in the room that no one's addressing. So I'm going to address it and force you to think about it. And so today what I wanted to do was have a look at an Engage Education exam, the boxes in boxes and Danes in drains. So hopefully everyone's got a copy. Yeah. So that's this one. So there is actually 3 articles with this piece. VCAS says that you can have up to and including 3 pieces on the exam, but as kind of compensation, it really can only be about this long, about 2 pages worth of writing. So that I guess is a bit of a nice thing, that it's not going to be as long as what the SAC was. But you could have up to and including 3. You usually find if there's multiples that there's like a main article, which is obviously this boxes in boxes one and Danes in drains. That's the main article, and then if you flip over, you can see that there are like 2 almost responses to that, addressing the same issue, just looking at it from different perspectives. Okay? Ready to roll? Sure. Now, have we had a read of this before? Has everyone had a look at it? I know my classes have, but no? You've never seen, you've definitely seen it before because we did in class, Daniel Nicolo. Yes. All right, so let's just very quickly work through this. Let's very, very quickly whiz through it because I don't want to spend a lot of time reading because, like, let's be honest, you can do that at home. So, what you got there, Panache? You're not in trouble, but I want to know. Is it like a salad? Okay. Oh, I don't care. I don't care if you're eating. I just want to know what you're eating. Is it a salad? Ooh. Look at Panache, all healthy and stuff. Woo. All right. So, we ready? Boxes in boxes and Danes in drains. First off, this is a news article. Now, as you should know, ladies at the back, as you should know, a news article shouldn't have any particular bias, but they always do because it's very hard to write something with 100% no bias. But a news article is supposed to be unbiased. This, however, is not unbiased. It does have some underlying messages. So that's something that you can obviously, that's, you know how we were talking about with this section when we studied this section, that there are like Easter eggs? Like little kind of like underneath things that high-end responses will discuss. That's the Easter egg. The Easter egg is that this is a news article and therefore shouldn't have any sort of bias. So it has to be more sneaky with its contention, with its kind of underlying contention and underlying arguments. Okay, which makes it a little bit more tricky to analyse. Okay, so this article is the Easter egg. So, boxes in boxes, Danes in drains, which by the way is not a great, like don't get me wrong, I love the wordplay, but it's not a great title for this article. Anyway, as the number of abandoned pets continues to rise each January, proponents of animal welfare launch a new campaign against pet stores and the puppy mills they support. Okay, so that gives us a bit of a context. Okay, this is going to be about puppy mills and animal welfare groups wanting to get rid of puppy mills. Animal welfare campaigners have lashed out at the pet industry, claiming that they are to be blamed for the large number of cats and dogs that are euthanised by Australian shelters each year. While pet shop owners and the Australian Veterinary Association claim there is no evidence that pet shops are contributing to the problem, the RSPCA and other animal shelter organisations claim that the availability of puppies and kittens in pet store windows encourages impulse purchases by people who are ill-prepared to deal with the demands of pet ownership. The pet industry feels that it is under threat from welfare groups, claiming they are trying to destroy retail pet shops in a recent industry bulletin. Puppy mills are a huge problem that operates under the radar of most Australians, commented Save a Dog Scheme's Julia Rucker. People assume that they're purchasing from a pet store, that the dog they're purchasing from a pet store is a registered breeder or the like, but the truth is that a registered breeder would never condone such a method of sale. Puppy mills have recently been brought into the media focus with the RSPCA's Confronting Employee of the Month campaign, which is the image next to us. Animal welfare groups have been working tirelessly to educate the public about the health and behavioural problems associated with animals bred in this manner and the cruel conditions breeding dogs are forced into. The Coalition of Welfare Groups has demanded an inquiry into the origins of animals on sale in pet stores. Pet Industry Association of Australia replied to the demand with a scathing statement from the former Chief Executive Joanne Sillence that the inquiry is unnecessary and would cost the government millions. Mr. Knox, creator of welfare group Cat Rescue, commented that the campaign for an inquiry is nothing to do with closing pet shops. We dearly want to keep them open. We just don't want them mass breeding animals, cruelly transporting them and selling them undesexed to anyone who has money. Then they or their babies either repeat the cycle or are dumped in our shelters. Okay, so that's boxes in boxes and Danes in drains, which, as you can tell, is not a great name for it. It doesn't really correlate with the actual article. But regardless, who doesn't love wordplay? Why let the truth get in the way of a good story? So, what do you notice about this? Yep.
That it tries to come off as a very neutral argument, but like if you look at the words very closely, it says like lashed out, and it uses a lot of words with negative connotations.
Good. It doesn't have a clear-cut contention because it is a news article and it needs to be underhanded about its contention and its arguments. But what it's doing is it's putting a certain amount of weight, emotional weight, on one side of the argument rather than the other. So it presents both kind of opinions, but it gives one a lot more airtime than the other and a lot more emotional weight than the other. And even when you look at the heading, boxes in boxes, Danes in drains, the implication is that animals are being mistreated, right? Which should not be the title. It should be something much more unbiased, something about pet shops accused, if this was kind of defending the pet stores, it would be pet shops accused of animal abuse or something like that, or pet shops wrongly accused of animal abuse. That would be much more on the other side, but it's not. It's the boxes in boxes, Danes in drains, implying that pet shops and puppy mills are mistreating animals. So very interesting in that regard. So that's the Easter egg. The Easter egg is, this is a news article and it shouldn't have an opinion, but it certainly does. Okay, so when you're doing your introduction for this, that's what you would need to kind of highlight and go, although this is a news article and is trying to be unbiased in its approach, its underlying contention is what? What would you say the underlying contention of this article is? Yep.
That puppy farms shouldn't be used.
Yeah, that puppy farms are kind of like damaging or like encouraging poor pet ownership and should be stopped. Yeah, cool. I should write that down while it's fresh in the head. Okay. Boxes in boxes and Danes in drains. So contention is not clear due to news article and needing to be unbiased. However, it implies that puppy mills and pet shops are encouraging poor pet ownership. Yeah. Alright, cool. So, then I've kind of blocked out the 3 articles on yours. It's obviously not on the website one, but I've done it on the one that I've given you guys. So it's got the first argument, which I kind of blocked from like here to about, oh, it's not going to let me highlight it. Oh yeah, it is. Here to here. No, that there. Which is like pet shops are to blame for like shelter increases. That seems to be the first argument, that it kind of says like the shelter numbers are increasing, it's because of pet shops, and pet shops are selling animals. So, arg 1. Now, in your actual SAC, because you obviously don't have time to take all these notes like I'm taking, just do it on the sheet like I have. Just kind of like circle where your arguments are. Just go, and then just write quick little note, circle the next one, quick little note, circle quick little note. Done. Pet shops are to blame for rising shelter numbers. All right. The second argument on this, argument 2, is pet shops are encouraging puppy mills. Like, pet shops are the reason that there are puppy mills. Enable puppy mills. Do you guys know what a puppy mill is? Yeah? It's like, yeah, it's kind of like when people are like breeding lots of puppies in quick succession without kind of taking into consideration the mum and whether the mum should be having puppies. Yeah, because like really dogs should only have like 2 or 3 litters at max ever in their lifetime. Whereas like a puppy mill mama will have 10 to 14 sometimes. Yeah, and they die of complications before. Yeah, I know, it's really sad. Oh, let's not talk about puppy mills too much. So, and then the third argument is basically puppy mills are bad. Puppy mills are bad. Now, the arguments aren't as kind of like clear cut as like a normal persuasive piece, because obviously it's got this underhanded like implied argument. And I think a lot of people worry about arguments and they're like, oh, but I need it to be like really clear cut, that it's like, this is the, think about arguments as like ideas. Instead of using the word argument, maybe use the word idea and go, okay, so the first idea in the article is this, and then the next idea is this, and then the next idea is this. That might make you feel more comfortable with declaring what the argument is. All right. Make sense so far? We all good? Cool. All right, let's have a look at these 2 response pieces. So, this is from Corella DeMille. Get it? Corella DeMille? Corella DeMille? Oh, I know. English teachers have a sense of humour. All right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's because it's got a Dalmatian. Get it? Right. Anyway, Corella DeMille, what does she say? She says, I have personally felt the impact of puppy mills when we discovered that my Dalmatian was deaf as a result of poor breeding. I purchased Pongo. I watched 101 Dalmatians, it'll make more sense. From a pet store near Victoria Markets. I mean, if you buy your dog from Vic Markets, like, I mean, of course it's going to be a rip-off. Like, I'm surprised it doesn't say, like, Gucky or something. Come on. That's your fault. The Vic Markets, not long after the film 101 Dalmatians, captured the attention of my children. Clueless to the existence of puppy mills and the influx in deaf Dalmatians after the film's release, I failed to recognise Pongo's disability until we tried to train him several months later. I love my dog, but if I'd known where he came from and the impact that it would have on my family's life, I would have been happy to pay extra for a puppy from a registered breeder. Puppy mills and backyard breeders should be shut down so other people don't find themselves in the same position I did and potentially feel that they need to give up their beloved pet. They need to give their beloved pet up for adoption. I urge everyone who reads this to visit www.closepuppyfactories.org and add their name to the fight against cruelty. So, I don't think it's real. This one is obviously not a news article. It has a very clear contention, very clear kind of set of arguments. What style is this? What? Good, it's a letter to the editor. Ben, why do you say letter to the editor?
Because she's just a citizen responding to
What tells you she's just a citizen?
her name on the bottom.
Good. It gives her name and her address. Not her address, like her suburb, right? Which, if you see name, suburb, that's usually meaning a letter to the editor. The other things that tell you it's a letter to the editor is it's in first person, it's short, she just talks about like her own personal experience. All of those things scream letter to the editor, okay? And same with the one underneath, okay? So let's read the second one. Not convinced. I love my Staffy. Yes, it's a Staffy. I love my Staffy as much as the next bloke. Nothing. I actually love Staffies. They just got these like really big smiles. I love it. I love a Staffy. Anyway, I love my Staffy as much as the next bloke. But all this talk about animal welfare and puppy mills as cruel just makes my eyes roll. Just makes me roll my eyes. I should scroll up for the people playing at home. I have a mate who decided to get his collie from a registered breeder and paid an arm and a leg, while I picked Sasha up for under $200. A dog is a dog is a dog, I say. Vet bills are bad enough. Why would I pay more than a day's wage when I don't have to? When Sasha is gone, I'll be returning to a pet store for my next friend. I just hope all these protesters don't take away the pet store's right to sell what they want and my right to buy at the right price. As for this suggestion that pet stores are to blame for the number of pets that end up in shelters each year, well, that's just a steaming pile of dog poo. Negligent and ill-prepared owners should be held solely responsible for their failure to recognise the commitment involved in pet ownership. That's from Nick Conan in Blackburn South. So, let's talk about these two articles. Let's go with Corella DeMille. That's the title. DeMille. What is her contention? What's Jan's contention? Good old Jan. Yep.
That puppy farm should be closed.
Good. Puppy farms should be closed. Why?
Because they're cruel and also cause defects.
Good. I think that's kind of the main crux, isn't it? About like the defects, that they encourage like defects, yeah. Or poor practice, yeah. Closed because they encourage poor breeding practices. All right. And what would you say is her argument? I would say that is her argument, really, wouldn't you? I wouldn't say there are arguments. I would say her contention is her argument. Like, she does add that little bit of cruelty at the end, but I don't feel like it's enough to substantiate saying it's an argument. Cool. Okay. So that is my contention and my argument. Excellent. And now, not convinced. What is his contention / argument? Yep.
That it's not, puppy farms aren't at fault. It's about like the owners.
Farms are not at default for
Reading
for like numbers going up, yeah. For how would I phrase this? For shelter numbers, and people should be able to buy their dog from wherever they like. Cool. Okay. So let's get this party started. Yes.
So there's the contention, isn't the argument wouldn't it be that they're too expensive?
Yeah, the thing is, again, we've only got an hour, so we've got to keep this condensed. A great way of kind of keeping it condensed is going, okay, well, I can see they want me to devote the majority of my words to boxes in boxes, obviously, because there's a whole page of that, and there's an image. So clearly they want me to devote the majority of my hour to analysing this one, and then they only want me to do a brief amount of analysis on each of these replies. We know this because they've only given me little replies, and I can kind of keep it condensed by keeping my contention and my arguments as one. And then basically saying, I'm just going to write a paragraph on Corella DeMille and a paragraph on not convinced. I'm going to keep it nice and short. Okay? Yep.
On the exam, you don't have to do comparison, right?
No. Big thing, you don't need to compare. I would just use comparison in order to create flow in your essay. Or to condense.
But like it's not a necessity.
It's not something you get marked on. Yeah. So if you have none, it doesn't matter. If you have some, it's fine, but like I wouldn't put effort into it. Yeah. Your effort should be in your analysis, not in your comparison. Yeah. So, how to condense, because this is obviously, we've got a lot to talk about, right? There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of techniques we can talk about. So, what I would do is first off, I would work out how I can condense the amount of paragraphs I've got to write. Because right now, in my current state, I have 3 arguments for boxes in boxes, and I've got a paragraph for Corella DeMille, and I've got a paragraph for not convinced. That's a lot, right? And I may not get time to do all of these, okay? One of the things I could do to condense the time is I could combine these two. And I put both of these into one paragraph. How do I do that? I use the comparison. So I do my boxes in boxes, and then I would do a paragraph talking about there are 2 replies. Boxes in boxes. Okay, so what I would do I'll just wait. I would then kind of go, there are 2 reply pieces to boxes in boxes, Corella DeMille and not convinced. So I'd introduce them both, and then I would just do a paragraph going and picking out the key bits of persuasion, and talk about them one after the other. Did you want to see writing a paragraph like that? Yeah? Let's write one. It's not too hard. And this would actually really condense down your time, because you don't have to write a whole lot of extra intros and stuff, right? So, normally, actually, I'll grab up what our normal, our SAC was, like our normal structure for the SAC, if I can find it. I have way too many PowerPoints. Alright. Oh, that's not it. My bad. Let me just pull it up. Pardon?
There's that folder there that says memes.
Oh, I know, my meme folder. Hey, a girl needs a meme folder. All right. So, you off, Josh?
Sorry, Michelle.
No, that's all right. See you later, alligator. Okay. So, in our SAC, this was our structure. We don't have time for this structure. We don't have time for this. So what we've got to do is pare it right down. Okay? And the way that we can do that is we can cut intro to Article 2 and blend it in. So take the intro stuff that we would put there and put it into our first argument. Okay. Oh, hang on. Oh, formatting. Here we go. This is going to be fun. You know how good I am with computers. All right. So my introduction to Article 2 and my Article 2 argument, well, we know that my Article 2 argument is like, it's just the contention. So, analysis. Okay, and so I don't need to do another one of these. And remember I said that I was going to combine my Article 2 and my Article 3. So I'm going to introduce both the Article 2 and 3 in the same thing. And then maybe instead of doing my analysis in that, which might get a bit sticky, so I might introduce both of those in the same thing and then just do one paragraph. Oop, no. Why won't you delete? Do what I want. There we go. Benny, are you just going to be turning that on and off the whole time? Oh, I thought you were turning on the heater.
When did I turn it off before?
Oh, didn't you?
No, I didn't ring.
Oh, just hallucinating. Nothing weird. Business as usual, you know. Yeah, just the usual hallucinations. Oh yeah.
And you say you just want to give your friends ammo.
Yeah. Oh, they know. They're aware. So then what I would do is do a paragraph comparing key persuasive pulls. I did see you. I'll be 2 seconds because otherwise I'll lose my track and then it's over. Okay, so I do an intro with Article 2 and 3, just introducing both of them, declaring the contentions of both, talking about the well, I wouldn't need to actually even cover the audiences because the audience is the same as boxes in boxes, which I could mention in my intro. Couldn't I? I could say all 3 of them are written in the same newspaper. Done. They've got the same audience. So establish the audience once, done. And they both have the same kind of relationship to the issue in terms of they're both pet owners. So I can cover them both at once too. So that's nice. So that obviously is going to condense the amount of stuff that you need to write. I'm not done. Don't take a photo yet. I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll let you know, Stevie Wonder, when you need to take a photo. So that certainly, yeah, that certainly will make your life a little bit easier in that regard. You still do need a conclusion, but you obviously are not going to need to restate major comparison points, so that's easy. You can clear that bad boy up. So that goes there. Other ways, oh sorry, Danielle. Good question. No, I don't well, it's up to you. It's one of those calls, some people cut it. I would say, for me, I like to have it, but I like a much less detailed one. So remember in our general intro, usually we give like a big spiel about the issue. You're not required to do that. To address the issue, it would just need to be like, recently there has been a spate of animal dumpings in pet shelters, and the question has arisen about whether this is because of puppy mills and pet shops. That would be enough. Move on. So like one sentence, maybe two. Yeah. So I would kind of keep my general intro just because then I can do that, and I can introduce all three of the articles and their stances. It's kind of a nice way to get something out of the way. But you would find that it would be, like I know in our stack, they ended up being, what, 3/4 of a page? Most people's general intros. Half a page, 3/4, it was about that. In this one, you're looking at 5 lines. You know, much shorter, much shorter. Then I'd introduce my article 1, and if I can clear anything up that is similar, I'd do it in my to all three. So like they all have the same audience, they're all in the same newspaper. I would clear that up in my general intro. So mention anything that you can that's the same in my general intro, just to get it out of the way. Looking back to my plan, I've got 3 arguments. Pet shops are to blame for rising numbers, rising shelter numbers. Pet shops enable puppy mills. Puppy mills are bad. Is there any way that I can condense any of that? Yep.
You could do argument 2 and 3 together?
I could, yeah. Pet shop enable puppy mills and puppy mills are bad. They could kind of go together, couldn't they? That would be easy. So that's another good way of condensing, is going, right, well, instead of doing 3 arguments, I'm going to do 2. You do need to cover, though, the whole article in terms of argument. You need to kind of, so like, we had people with the SAC, there was kind of like 3 arguments in the first article, in the Vice article, and one of them was about like the danger that it poses to like LGBTI families, and that they were going to be a target of like nastiness, and a lot of people cut that off because they were like, I don't have time. No, you have to condense that with something else. So you needed to bring that in to another, if you wanted to kind of cut down the amount of time you wanted to cover, you needed to bring that argument in with another argument. Okay, so you've got to show that you understand the whole article. Yep.
So when we condense it,
Yeah.
like say we condense 2 arguments into one, in that one paragraph addressing that argument, do we include like more persuasive techniques, say like 3?
Good question. So if I was going to combine, argument 3 and argument 2, and I was going to go, nah, I'm just going to do it as 1, I would then go, okay, I'm going to do 1 persuasive technique for pet shops enable puppy mills, and then 1 persuasive technique for puppy mills are bad. I'm going to do 1 for each. Because usually I would do 2 persuasive techniques per argument. Now it's 1 argument, so I'm dropping 2 persuasive techniques there. And I'll just do them the best that I can. Remember, these exams are about quality over quantity. We do not expect that you are going to be able to hit every single persuasive pull in this thing. We just expect you to find the ones that you can talk about with the best way possible, like with the most amount of depth. Like go as deep as you can on them. That's the best way to approach them. Taylor, keep your head out of the gutter. So instead of having what started off being a piece that would have 5 paragraphs, we are now reduced to 3, which obviously is going to make our life a hell of a lot easier. Okay, that's something that you really need to look at. Any other questions about like condensing from that perspective. One thing that I would not recommend condensing is taking multiple persuasive pulls and putting them together and trying to vaguely analyse them both. Don't do that. If you declare a persuasive pull, analyse it. Okay? Don't kind of go, oh, then the author says this and this and this, and these all attempt to make the reader think. Do them individually. You'd be better off picking one and really going in depth about like the word use and all of that kind of thing than trying to cover a whole bunch of them very, very vaguely. Make sense? Cool. Madam, did you have a question? No, doesn't matter? Questions, queries, concerns so far? No? So, to go back to DeMille's question about general intro, it's really up to you. If you feel like you can condense general intro and intro to Article 1 down and you can kind of combine them, go for it. I'm all for it. If you can condense these two babies, which I think you can, and I've seen it done successfully, that people condense the general intro and the first article intro, they condense it into one, and I've seen it done really, really well. Do it. I just like keeping them separate as my own personal writing because I find that it just sounds smoother when I do it. But if you can still sound smooth, go for it. There is no harm, no harm. What I would suggest is trying it. That's really what you've got to do. You've got to kind of try the style out, which is why I kind of picked this boxes in boxes one, because it gives you the opportunity to practice that. If you got a single piece, like if you just got boxes in boxes, if you just got that, would you need a general intro? No, of course you wouldn't, because like it's all about the one issue. You would just kind of condense and go, here's the issue, here's my contention, here's my tone, you'd just do all that in the one paragraph. So if you get a single, if you're lucky enough to get a single lady, gold. The problem is if you get a single is that we're expecting a lot of depth in it. That's the rub. So if you get 3, the briefness can be kind of overlooked because obviously you've gotten 3, you've got it, you can only do so much. If you get 1, we're like, you better absolutely tear apart that bad boy. You can if you want. I like to mention per argument personally.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I prefer per argument, but it's one of those things. Some people do it in different ways. This essay has lots of different interpretations. This is just my way.
See, I was just looking on I think it was on the VC discussion page, someone was like analysing something.
Yeah.
And they put the tone in the
Intro.
intro. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Some people do it that way, and that's fine too.
The top scorer had it, the intro.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no like thick or fast way. Yeah, you're not going to lose marks or gain marks either way. Yeah, it's just, have you got it there? Have you got it there? Yeah. Are you acknowledging what the tone is? Yeah. All right. So we've got 15 more minutes. Ladies, gentlemen, we've got 15 more minutes, and I've got the choice of 2 things. We can either have a look at a house on fire question, or I can show you how to write that Paris and comparing persuasive pulls. Like a house on fire. La Hoff.
Well, just take a photo, Stevie.
La Hoff. Yep. Take a photo, Stevie. All right. Does anyone have the questions? Otherwise, oh no, I've got them on the computer. I'm just being lazy. You and 16, we're not doing it. No one would pick it.
But it's because I don't understand.
It's an ongoing joke between me and Laura that she's always trying to get this question up and nobody wants to do it.
Every time.
Every time.
No one likes me.
What do I say? You know the individual slide that we worked on today?
This one? Yeah. I'll send it to you. I'll take a photo of it and I'll Stevie Wonder it and I'll just screenshot it. Easy. Yeah.
You can actually, if you open a new PowerPoint,
What?
if you open a new PowerPoint, you can copy
Yeah. I'll just even just go and just take a photo of it. And that way you can see it properly. Anyway. What am I doing? Oh, like a house on fire. Oh, so we're definitely not doing 16 because you're not even here. Or maybe we should do it because, like, you're here.
No, because you said you weren't doing 16. I was like, there's no point in me being here. I'm just leaving because of that. Do question 7. You actually did prompt 7.
Yeah, we're going to do a quick like a house on fire discussion about what you would do. Alright. Where are my practice questions for like a house on fire?
And Miss,
Yes, darling.
if no one has actually given me a proper answer, do you reset exam?
Yes, if you get under 50, yep.
So we do.
Yeah. Under 50, you reset.
For these trial exams.
For these trial exams. Yeah. That's what we did last year. I don't know. I mean, like, it might change, but last year, that's what we did. And under 60%, you went and had a conversation with Mr. Kenny and your mum.
Is that for all subjects?
All subjects.
Would you rent? I'm getting every subject.
You know what I would suggest? Studying. You can't.
I still have 40 sets.
Don't even.
How am I supposed to study for exams?
Mate.
More than trial exams.
Yes, darling.
In terms of persuasive techniques for
Yes. Yes.
I swear they're asking.
Why are you whispering? Oh, because we're recording. Yeah. Do you want me to pause? Okay. Alright, who's got the questions? Ladies, gents, I need your help. Who's got the questions? Ladies, gents, you're the ones that want to do a like a house on fire question. What's the question?
You don't reset this one.
I thought that you did. We did last year.
Matthew got 30 last year in his trial. Sorry for exposing you.
This is going on the internet. Jag, this is going on the internet. Come on. Right. Ladies, gents.
I mean, he got 49.
Guys, if you don't want to work anymore, that's fine. I'm happy to go home. Right. Who wants to do a question? What question do you want to do? But like a house on fire. Come on. Give me a question. I can find them. What am I looking for? Oh no, sentence. A text response essay? You know how to structure a text response essay? Watch the video. I've got a video on text response structure for Rear Window. No. Oh, yeah, you could use that. Or just the Rear Window text response. Because the structure's the same. It's just you're talking about different text. Oh, okay. Have a look at last week's and the week before's AIM. Alright. Bye, Ricardo. Alright. So, here we go. Have a look. Pick any of those questions.
The hardest one.
Well, you tell me what the hardest one is, because I don't think any of them are hard, because that's my job. Come on. Shh. Read with your eyes. Read with your eyes. No, gross.
Number 4 looks challenging.
The stories that show both men and women find it difficult to communicate. What extent is it true in Like a House on Fire? All right, cool.
Either way.
Too easy?
It's easy, I'm running the book.
All right.
Too easy, don't do it. I will do it, let's do it.
Or you can do the number 5. Whether they're in a relationship or not, many of Kennedy's characters are simply lonely. It is.
I don't like
It says
number
discuss as well, which is better.
It does say discuss.
We should do number 16 for.
No, I'm not doing number 16.
How do we address number 8? I don't like that.
When verbal communication fails, partners, parents, and children watch each other. How does Kennedy use the idea of people watching each other in Like a House on Fire? We can do that if you want.
Okay, well, what would you write about though?
Well, I would talk about like how they do watch each other, and then from watching each other they learn. So then, like with Flexion, she realises, and then they communicate not necessarily verbally but through their bodies. Yep.
Is there any that you recommend we should focus on?
What's the one that's closest to the one?
I like number 5. I think number 5's a good one.
Okay, can we do number 5?
Sure. Right. Right, we ready? We're going to do number 5. Whether they are in a relationship or not. Yes.
In the exam, are there 2 parts that we choose from or one?
There are 2 questions, yes. Okay. Whether they are in a relationship or not. Many of Kennedy's characters are simply lonely.
Do you still follow?
Yeah, there we go.
Alright, so I'll just wait. Okay, so we've written out the question, which is whether they are in a relationship or not. Many of Kennedy's characters are simply lonely. Discuss how the stories explore loneliness. So, what are the important words in that? Lonely, loneliness, yep, good. Whoop. Oh. Bad call. No colour. Let's not do that again. Loneliness. What else is important? Shh. Whether they're in a relationship. That seems to be a kind of interesting thing to throw in there. Okay. So, what way would you approach this? You could, a low-end result will just go, there are three stories that look at loneliness, and they'll do a paragraph on each, and they'll be done. But they won't really be able to score more than, say, a 5. That'll kind of cap them. The next group, which will kind of go your 5 to 7s, will go a paragraph on people who are lonely in a relationship, a paragraph on people who are alone and lonely, and probably a paragraph on people who aren't alone and don't feel lonely. Okay? That'll kind of be your middle band group that will go, you know, from like 5 to like a 7. It's a good response. They're happy with it. It's not sending out any like Pulitzer Prize winning, you know, vibes, but it's good. A high range response we'll look at that question and go, right, well, what can I say? What are 3 authorial statements that I can say about this idea of being lonely even when you're in a relationship? Because examiners froth over that idea about authorial intent. They love you talking about authorial intent, right? So, what are 3 things that I can take away from this discussion about Kennedy's characters being lonely? What are 3 things that she says about characters being lonely? Yeah?
That there's different types of loneliness.
Yeah, good, yeah. Different types of loneliness, yeah? So I could look at 3 different types of loneliness. That could be one way of responding, yep. What's one type of loneliness that we could address?
Like emotionally.
Okay, so can you be physically lonely? Is there anyone who's kind of physically lonely though? Emotionally? I feel like all loneliness is emotional, isn't it? That's not true. Yeah, like a kind of...
It's possible to be lonely, like to feel lonely when there's like everyone else around you.
Yeah, and that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Self-imposed loneliness. Okay, so you have like people who self-impose loneliness. So people like Flexion, you know, like Frank in Flexion. Who else self-imposes loneliness?
I don't know her name, but she's in cross country.
Yeah, the lady in cross country, she's interesting. She self-imposes loneliness, but she's also lonely because she's been left. So she's a kind of funny one. So I'll just write cross country. He doesn't choose to be alone though, does he? He's abandoned. Anybody else who chooses loneliness?
Like House on Fire. I know, not really. I know, yeah.
He's kind of like forced into it because of his injury.
I've named
All the stories you know. Nuts. I would say someone like Ellie in 72 Derwents, she kind of chooses to be a bit of an island, doesn't she? Because it's like...
She's like 12.
She's like 16. She's like 16. Ellie's the older sister. Tyler's the baby. Yeah. Rebecca. Good one.
What are you reading, Jake? What are you reading? I see you, bro. What is that? Give me that.
All right. If you did want, I've got like a study guide. If you wanted to come and borrow it, yeah, you can get that one. I've got like another big one. Yeah, pop into my office and borrow it whenever you want.
I'll come tomorrow.
Yeah, come see me, and you can like scan it and send it to your mates or whatever. Yeah, always available. Or you can borrow Safkas's. That's actually not a bad one. Safkas doesn't share. Yeah, fair enough. All right. So we're saying we could do a paragraph on self-imposed loneliness. I think we definitely need to do a paragraph on the quote, which talks about being lonely when you're surrounded by people, when you're in relationships. All right. What stories could relate to that?
I just want to know what's that one? Ashes.
He doesn't self-impose. He's kind of just lonely. Yep. Yeah. He's got his wife. He's got, yeah, definitely. Rolly. Rolly in... Yep.
I don't know the name of the story, but
That's
it was
okay.
the one where she had a kid and then he was going to go to jail.
Oh,
She was
$5 Family.
lonely,
Yep.
And then she realised that.
Yep. 5. Sorry, I'll just wait. Shh. I would even say Michelle kind of even fits into that self-imposed loneliness at the end when she's like, I would rather be alone then deal with him. Like if they're my choices, I pick being alone. Yep.
So then, with these, do we discuss just one character or several characters?
So what I would do is I would do a paragraph on self-imposed loneliness and go, this can be shown with Frank and Rebecca. And then I do evidence, explanation of Frank, evidence, explanation of Rebecca.
And then how do we incorporate quotes?
Within that evidence. So you give a quote about Frank and you talk about how Frank chooses loneliness. And then you talk about Rebecca and how Rebecca has chosen loneliness. And then, yeah, does that make sense?
Well, I wouldn't know how to get the quotes to then know how to use them.
Have a look at last week's video.
Quotes in there.
We wrote a whole paragraph together. It was a bonding moment. The last paragraph, I know it's 4:30, you're getting raucous. Shh. Thank you. The last paragraph about loneliness, what else could we say this text shows us about loneliness, or maybe about relationships and, about how to maybe bridge the gap of loneliness we could look at? How does this text show us about getting rid of loneliness? Yeah? Yeah, that you can only get rid of loneliness with like genuine connection and understanding. Yeah. Can only eradicate loneliness with connection and understanding. And don't be scared, he came in last time and gave us marshmallows. Alright. Oh no, he's coming in again. He's coming in. We're still recording. Just as it's a good warning for him. Hey, what's going on? You're really building up a bit of suspense for these guys. Okay. Can anyone think of a text that shows that they can eradicate loneliness? Oh, thank you, darling. Beautiful. I will sign that and get back to you. Do you need it Friday? Friday? Cool. Texts that show that we can eradicate loneliness. Who gets rid of their loneliness? Flexion, yeah, definitely. And not just Frank's loneliness, but Mrs. Slovak's too. By actually having genuine connection. Anybody else that feels that? Yep. Yeah, because they all come together at the end. Yep. Any other stories? Ashes, yeah, because he actually connects to his mother. Good. Right, I'm going to leave you there. I will send you all of this. Well done for being good. I don't know why I had to praise you for being good. It's something voluntary, but here we are.